Well, hello, and welcome to a kind of unique episode of the Gunman. I don't know if we'll call it an episode. It's just like a breakdown thing. But so, here's what we're doing. So every time that I get in a new gun, especially a Desert Eagle, here's what we do to kind of prep it. This is also what I'll do before, any kind of competition that we shoot. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the sucker apart, not all the way apart. We're not going to strip the entire slide down to like its individual pieces because I don't really feel like putting that back together, and I don't think it's that necessary. But we're going to take the grip off, slide, a lot of the basic, internals that you'd take apart if you were field stripping this. And then what we're going to do is we are going to scrub it out with just some gun cleaner. You can use gun scrub or, whatever you want to. I just got this for free at a competition and I still have some, so I'm going to use that. Then we are going to soak all the parts, especially anything that has metal on metal like contact that moves. And this stuff is awesome. It's a fantastic little micro coating that gives you some lubricity and kind of keeps everything protected over time. I also do this with my mags, but I'm not going to bother doing that with this because I have just so many dadgum mags for these Desert Eagles, so I'm not going to bother showing y'all taking all those apart. But it is a good idea. Take those apart, scrub them, soak them in that for a while, or like overnight, and then put everything back together, and everything will run way, way better after you, do all the stuff you're supposed to do, like re-lubricate everything, because, if you scrub everything out with gun scrub or something like that, you are going to remove all the lubrication. So you're going to have to scrub it all out, get it all dry, and then, coat it in the interflon, leave it there, soak it a little bit, and then put everything back together and properly lubricate everything, and everything will run so much better, I promise. So I'm going to just kind of show you all that whole process. I'm just going to take these grips off because we don't want to, we don't need to soak rubber in interflon. It's not that helpful. I'm going to replace these grips anyway. Not that, these Magnum Research grips in rubber aren't comfortable, but they're not exactly what I would use for my purposes because I'm, shooting these in like competition and stuff. You don't need to soak those in interflon, but, whatever. Screw it. Who cares? It's metal. It doesn't matter. All right. Those come off. Those over here. There we go. All right. Now, the rest of taking apart a Desert Eagle is like super duper easy. Push that. We're gonna pop that. Barrel comes right off. That right there. Slide that off. There's your recoil spring assembly. All your other stuff. And then on these new guns, also just boop, and your piston comes off. The old Desert Eagles do not do that. This has been kind of interesting. So for those of y'all who don't know, and I will have put out some kind of announcement or something, probably on Instagram before this, but this is a Desert Eagle that was sent to us by Magnum Research. We are going to be working with them for the foreseeable future, them and Car Firearms. We're super excited about that. So we're going to do a cool little breakdown on here's what I do, to get these things ready to shoot them the way that I shoot them. All right, so we're going to do a cool little breakdown on what I do to get these all cleaned up and ready, strip all the factory grease off of them, anything like that, anyone else's lubrication. I, only run things the way that I run them, which is, part of why mine run the way that no one else has really seemed to. And it's because of my little process I have. So we're going to show you how all that works in detail on camera so that if you want to do, the kind of stuff that I do, you totally can. That little channel in there. Just going to get all the dust. Not that there really is much because this is a new gun, but we're just going to get every piece of factory grease, everything off of this thing. That way I'm only running it. See all that gunk coming off over that black gunk? Just going to get everything off of it. Get it basically dry. Dry and degreased. And then once it is all dry and degreased, that way, then I will have only the things that I want to put on it and in it. Soak it in the Interflon once it's like nice and dry, completely dry. And that keeps everything much more lubricated. All right. By the way, I kind of recommend doing this with I'd almost do this with any gun you get, not just Desert Eagles. This is what I do for Desert Eagles, but man, really anything that you get that's new, just degunk it. Degunk it, spray it down, and man, Interflon makes just anything run better. It really does. There's no reason not to. All right. I'm going to leave all this here, and we're going to let it dry for a little bit. All right, now that we let these dry a little bit, we're just going to take them. I'll just wipe everything down with microfibers, just to make sure everything's nice and dry and everything's all cleaned off. Yeah, see, get a little extra gunk off of there. Just getting every little nook and cranny that we can, easily reach with a microfiber. I'm going to focus especially on anything that has any, continuous metal on metal contact, especially say in here in the recoil spring channel, because that's where the Desert Eagles have dual recoil springs, but they also have metal bars that slide back and forth. And Desert Eagles can be, really depends on the model and the caliber, but they can be quite susceptible to slide slowdown problems. So we are just going to, from the get-go, right out of the gate, minimize that as much as possible. Make sure everything stays running nice and smooth for as long as possible. And by the way, before I shoot any match with this, I will take it apart and I will do this entire process over again, like the night before or the day before, just to make sure that we are running it, top capacity every time we need it to run. Not that we don't want it to run all the time, but you know what I'm saying. Honestly, we really don't need all of that to get continuously soaked in Interflon. You really don't necessarily need anything to be non-stop soaked in Interflon, just because of how it works. But the parts that have metal on metal contact, so the top of the frame and the bottom of the slide, those we're going to make sure get nice and soaked as much as possible. And definitely the recoil spring setup. So we're just going to hose all of this. Center that up a little bit. Yeah. And get everything in here nice and coated. And get the bottom of this all nice and coated. Everything on the inside. And I'll work it into all the cracks. Everything that moves. Everything that moves and everything that rubs. Be real careful not to get it all over our fingers. Definitely wash your hands after doing any of this. Probably not recommended to do this without gloves, but whatever. I am an idiot who does goofy crap on the internet. You come to me for smart advice. That's on you. except for this. This is a good thing to do. Do this. Ignore my safety precautions, but this is fun. Coat stuff in this. This should also keep the gun a bit more protected. I'm down here in Houston, Texas. It is super, super humid all the time. So, keeping moisture out of your guns is good. All right, and we are going to let all of this, see if the barrel will fit in there. The barrel really, because the barrel's on the Desert Eagle, doesn't move all that much. It's really not that necessary. But we'll just go ahead and leave it in here with everything else, just so we can keep everything all together. All right, so this will stay like this until tomorrow, and then we'll put everything back together after we wipe everything down all, again, get everything all cleaned up, and we'll let it dry a little bit more, and then I'll put it all back together and then re-lubricate everything. And then we should be about as good to go as you can possibly get with, with a Desert Eagle, but just about any gun. Yeah, so I'll see you tomorrow. All right. This should be enough time. Try and use all of this. Everything nice and wiped down. I'm trying to avoid touching this with my hands too much. Not detrimental, but, avoid when possible. All right. She is all reassembled. See, look, even like there's no lubrication in this whatsoever. You can feel it's nice and smooth. None of that. No metal on metal friction, or at least severely reduced friction. So now I'll let it dry a little bit more, then we'll take it and re-lubricate it. All right, so we got it cleaned up, out of the interflon. It's much more dried out now, and it is nice and smooth. So now this is another thing I'll just sit around and do for a while. See, I've already been working at it a little bit. There's this little almost kind of gouge there where the little safety bumps are on both sides. I'll literally sit there for, hours, a lot of time, and just work this back and forth. The safeties on a Desert Eagle especially come super tight from the factory. And even if you buy them secondhand, let's be honest, most people don't shoot them a lot, and they're probably not working on quickly deactivating the safety. So if you want to shoot this, at least the way that I shoot this, is you have to sit around and do this a lot. Notice I have not lubricated the gun yet. It's still just got, the interflon coating on the inside. It has not actually been lubricated. And that's because I want that bit of friction there. I want the metal on metal. I want it to kind of wear that groove in there. And I want the parts to wear together. That way, when I do lubricate it, it'll be much smoother. And the parts will be nice and kind of ground together. Now that I've worked that safety a good bit, the last part will be to lubricate it. I'm going to use some gun caffeine cold brew. I cannot express enough. This actually smells like coffee, and it's awesome. I accidentally dropped it and broke the tip off, but it still works fine. Make sure I get it down into the recoil springs and the recoil channel. It really, really, really does not like there to be a lot of friction in here. Anything on this gun that moves, just give it a bit. This stuff smells awesome. Literally, I cannot express enough how much that it makes my gun smell like coffee, and it works great. You can see I've got, I finished out my older Desert Eagle with it, even on the surface finish, and it is nice and glossy and smooth. You can feel that little bit of surface lubricity. It's nice and smooth. This stuff is great. It really, really is great. So yeah, we'll get this all lubed up, get it all into everything. I'll probably put some on the surface a little bit too, and in here on the recoils, or not on the recoil channel, on the little channel I've got there on my safeties. Get everything lubricated, nice and smooth. I'll get it all back together. Kind of hard reaching around my camera here, but all right. Got everything lubricated, back together. Smooth as absolute butter. Woo! Man, tell you what, not bad.